Hi, I'm Dr. Mary. What if I told you that within just 24 hours of cutting out ultra-processed foods, your body quietly begins to repair itself, even if you don't feel it yet? Most people expect dramatic results immediately, and when they don't get them, they give up. But the science tells a very different story. The changes happening inside you, in your gut, your brain, your blood, your hormones, are real, measurable, and they follow a clear timeline. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly what happens to your body, hour by hour, day by day, week by week, when you stop eating ultra-processed foods. And I'll also tell you what the rough patches look like, so you're not caught off guard. Stay with me, because week 3 is where things get really interesting. Before we go further, a quick and important note. Everything I share in this video is for educational purposes only. It is not personal medical advice. If you have a chronic condition, take medications, or are planning a significant dietary change, please speak with your doctor or a registered dietitian first. Now, let's get into the science. First, let's make sure we're talking about the same thing, because processed food is a term that gets used loosely. The classification system most researchers use is called the NOVA system. It divides foods into 4 groups based on how much industrial processing they've gone through. Ultra-processed foods, NOVA Group 4, are not just foods with added salt or sugar. They are industrially formulated products made mostly from substances extracted from foods, rather than actual whole foods. Think of things like packaged snacks, flavored chips, instant noodles, soft drinks, mass-produced bread, flavored yogurts, breakfast cereals, fast food, and ready-made frozen meals. These products typically contain long ingredient lists with additives, emulsifiers, artificial flavors, preservatives, and added sugars, ingredients you would not find in a home kitchen. And here's what's critical. Research, including a large 2019 study published in the BMJ, found that a 10% increase in ultra-processed food consumption was associated with a higher risk of cardiovascular disease, obesity, type 2 diabetes, and even some cancers. So when we talk about cutting these out, the effects on the body are significant. Let's go through them. Within the first 24 hours, some of the most immediate changes happen in your blood sugar and your hunger signals. Ultra-processed foods are typically high in refined carbohydrates and added sugars, which cause rapid spikes in blood glucose, followed by sharp crashes. These crashes are what make you feel hungry again just an hour or 2 after eating. When you remove these foods, your blood glucose begins to stabilize. The sharp peaks and valleys start to smooth out. For many people, this feels like nothing at first. You may actually feel more hungry, more irritable, or even tired. This is normal. Your body has been relying on quick sugar hits for energy. Now it needs to recalibrate. Insulin sensitivity begins to improve even in this early window. The sharp peaks and valleys start to smooth out. For many people, this feels like nothing at first. You may actually feel more hungry, more irritable, or even tired. This is normal. The same reward chemical involved in other compulsive behaviors. Removing them triggers a mild withdrawal response in some people. The sharp peaks and valleys start to smooth out. For many people, this feels like nothing at first. You may actually feel more hungry, more irritable, or even tired. This is normal. By days 2 through 7, something remarkable begins happening in your gut, even though you can't feel it directly. Your gut microbiome, the trillions of bacteria living in your digestive system, begins to shift its composition within just 48 to 72 hours of a dietary change. Research from Stanford and other institutions has shown that the gut microbiome responds to dietary shifts faster than almost any other system in the body. Ultra-processed foods are typically very low in dietary fiber. Fiber is what feeds the beneficial bacteria in your gut. Without it, those bacteria are essentially starved. You replace ultra-processed foods with whole foods, vegetables, legumes, whole grains, fruits. You begin feeding those good bacteria again. Short-chain fatty acids, like butyrate, start to be produced in higher quantities. Butyrate is critical for gut lining integrity and has strong anti-inflammatory properties. You might experience some bloating or digestive changes during this week. This is your gut adjusting. It is a sign things are moving in the right direction, not a sign something is wrong. By the end of week 1, many people also report slightly better sleep quality. This is partly linked to reduced sugar load before bed, and partly to early improvements in gut-brain signaling. Week 2 is often where people start to feel a genuine shift, and this is the phase I want you to hold on for, especially if the first week felt hard. Brain fog begins to lift. Many people describe a feeling of mental clarity they hadn't noticed was missing. This is connected to more stable blood sugar, reduced neuroinflammation, and improved gut-brain axis signaling. The gut-brain axis is a bi-directional communication network between your digestive system and your brain. When gut health improves, neurotransmitter production, including serotonin, about 90% of which is produced in the gut, also begins to improve. Mood stabilization is a common report at this stage. Energy levels become more consistent. Instead of the spike and crash cycle driven by refined carbohydrates, your body is increasingly drawing on more stable fuel sources, including complex carbohydrates and healthy fats. By week 3, systemic inflammation markers, including C-reactive protein or CRP, begin to measurably decline in people who have made meaningful dietary changes. A 2020 review in Nutrients found that diets high in ultra-processed foods were independently associated with elevated inflammatory markers, and that switching to whole food patterns reversed this trend. Skin changes are also commonly reported at this stage. Reduced puffiness, improved complexion, largely driven by reduced inflammatory load and better hydration from whole food sources. Blood pressure may begin to decrease in people who were consuming high levels of sodium from processed foods. Another early measurable benefit. By week 4, the body has had enough time to establish new patterns, and the research shows this is where meaningful, measurable change consolidates. Gut microbiome diversity, one of the strongest indicators of long-term health, shows significant improvement by the 4-week mark in people who have consistently increased whole food intake. In people who have consistently increased whole food intake, metabolic markers improve. Fasting insulin levels, triglycerides, and LDL cholesterol. Metabolic markers improve. Fasting insulin levels, triglycerides, and LDL cholesterol all trend in a healthier direction for many people. Weight changes, if they occur, tend to stabilize here as well. It's worth noting that the primary driver is not calorie restriction. It's satiety. Whole foods are significantly more satiating per calorie than ultra-processed foods. People naturally eat less without trying because the hunger signals are finally working the way they are supposed to. One important thing I want to say here: this is not about perfection. The research does not require a 100% elimination of every processed product. It shows that meaningful reduction produces these benefits. Progress matters more than purity. Let's talk about some red flags you should watch for. A brief but important section. For most healthy adults, transitioning away from ultra-processed foods is safe and beneficial. However, please seek medical advice if you experience severe dizziness or fainting during dietary changes, heart palpitations, extreme fatigue lasting more than 2 weeks, significant unintended weight loss, worsening of any existing condition. These could indicate an underlying issue that needs evaluation, not something to manage on your own. Now, let's wrap up. Let's bring this together. In the first 24 hours, blood sugar begins to stabilize, cravings may peak, mild withdrawal is normal. Days 2 to 7, your gut microbiome begins shifting, sleep may improve, digestive changes are expected. Weeks 2 to 3, brain fog lifts, energy stabilizes, inflammation markers begin to drop. Week 4 and beyond, gut diversity improves, metabolic markers improve, satiety signals work correctly again. The body is remarkably responsive. You do not need to be perfect. You need to be consistent. If this video gave you something useful, drop the word reset in the comments below. It helps me understand what content is helping you. And it helps other people find this video too. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Every week I bring you evidence-based health information, explained clearly, without exaggeration, and without fear. I'm Dr. Mary. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.